What is up, guys? Cody here today with the patch 6.9 rundown. Okay, I'm going to go over a lot of important things here. I'm going to try to go over it really fast. I'm only going to try to cover the important stuff, but everything's pretty much important. So yeah, we got dragons we got to cover, we got majors we got to cover, and we got a bunch of other stuff we got to cover too. So starting with the dragons, we've got the 4 new dragons now. We got the fire dragon, which gives you AD, AP. We got the earth dragon, which gives you damage to towers. We got the water dragon, which gives you health and mana. And we got the wind dragon, which gives you movement speed. Fire dragon good, earth dragon good, water dragon good, wind dragon Fire dragon's gonna be like overall decent in any team comp. Earth Dragon is going to be a really good dragon for competitive. Water Dragon is just a very nice dragon for sustain, and Wind Dragon, once again, We also have the Elder Dragon, which is going to pretty much give like a 5th dragon buff that we used to have, and that's going to give you damage. The 5th dragon is going to spawn in 35 minutes, and the buff is going to last 90 seconds. On to some of the mage updates. We're going to start with Bran. Bran, pretty much the main thing that you're gonna want to worry about now is his new passive. That's how he's gonna deal with all of his damage. Is that with his new passive, he's gonna deal % health damage every 3 hits with his abilities he gets on you. It's gonna proc that passive. Cassiopeia, pretty much all you have to worry about is they made it so that her passive makes her so that she doesn't have to get boots. Her W it's the same thing as what it was. Now it's a big arc, and it makes it so that you can't use any movement abilities while you're in it. Malzahar, they gave him a new passive, which is pretty much like a Banshees, and then they moved his old passive onto his W, and they moved his W onto his ult. Malzahar's new passive really isn't all that good though, because you play a poke champion like Varus against him and he's done. Vel'Koz does a lot of true damage now. They took out Vladimir's core item in this, so what they did was they gave Vladimir's Q an ability called Crimson Rush, so after Vlad uses a Q twice, his next Q is going to deal a lot more damage, so be aware of that. That Vlad uses Q is going to deal damage. They changed how his E works so that it spreads out in an area from him, and you can see when he's charging it. Zyra, they gave an Alawi passes after its plants for her, and her Q is now its rectangle instead of a circle. And if you have a bunch of number changes, the only main thing that you have to worry about though is now her ult expands over time. Annie, her ult is now going to actually be more effective than just an AoE stun. Tibbers is now actually going to do damage. Bills now has his new passive where he gets extra movement speed after standing still or channeling an ability. This is still not going to help him be meta. Swain's Q now covers a zone to slow enemies in it instead of now just being point and click. On Syndra's passive, they changed the max Q ability to be that spheres are lasting longer, and they changed the max W ability that allows her to grab 2 additional spheres. Veigar is going to be really strong. They made it so that his passive is now whenever he hits an enemy with an ability, he gains 1 ability power. Veigar's Q does still stack ability power onto that passive though. Also, the only other major change that they did with Veigar was that now his ultimate is going to deal damage based upon a target's missing health instead of the enemy AP ratio. Xerath, pretty much the only thing that they did was they made it so that he gets more shots, and they gave him a gen effect with his ult. Zig's main thing here is that his W is now going to be able to execute turrets. He's still not really going to be all that good though, because he can't really get onto the turret due to the fact that he is Ziggs. And champions like Azir will be better at pushing and sieging onto a tower. That's it for the major and other minor major reworks being done to the mages. There's a few other mages that have numbers being changed in here, but we'll get to it. Starting off with some general changes real quick. Death timers are getting reduced a little bit between the 20 and 30 minute mark. The boot enchants are being removed, and the Baron buff duration is being increased. Also, Grievous Wounds is no longer just affected by self-healing, it also affects all healing, so they reverted that change that they made earlier, so Soraka is getting an indirect nerf from this. The Rift Herald now spawns at 6 minutes and never respawns. It has a new buff, which is pretty much, it gives you like extra damage, and that's all it really is. It's not so much that it makes it overpowered, but it'll probably feel really underpowered. But it only happens once, and it lasts for 20 minutes, and it persists through death. And this is going to be for your top laner because it gets your extra damage when you are alone. For the jungle, they did some stuff to red buff and blue buff, and I'm not really going to worry about that. The main thing we're going to have to worry about is the fact of camp respawn timers. So they added camp respawn timers on because they feel like we're all idiots, and they feel like this is more competitive play, but honestly, nobody wanted this. Nobody really likes this, and yeah. They did some changes up to the turrets, but the main thing is that you're gonna have AP damage conversion now, which means that your AP is more than double your bonus AD. The damage you do is converted into magic damage instead of physical. Allow is ease getting changed up. Instead of lasting for a minute and spawning tentacles every 10 seconds, it's going to last for 12 seconds and spawn tentacles every 5 seconds, scaling down with level. You can also no longer get rid of this debuff. Okay, then they're doing some number changes. Main thing is that now his ultimate is going to be able to hit every champion in the area. Kindred getting a small nerf here in this patch, but she's still going to be really good because she does everything that needs to be done in this patch, and she benefits from Bloodrazor. She benefits from the new jungle item, which we'll get into. So, Kindred, really strong jungler of this patch. I suggest you really try her out. Soraka, top of the Grievous Wounds nerfs, she's also getting a direct nerf, where her Q is only going to have a static amount of slow, and her rejuvenation speed is being lowered as well. Taric getting some nerfs. Pretty much the main thing that they're nerfing is his stun radius, his stun length and width. So it's going to be easier to dodge it, and then Taric is going to be harder to hit it. When you see the patch notes, you're going to see that there's a lot of changes with Victor's numbers. Don't worry about it. They're just changing him around to just match what they're doing with all the other mages. And this is a minor detail here with this Zac buff that they're adding on, but I think it's really important. So Zac's getting 5 movement speed to keep up with the movement, with how the game is going and how movement speed is kind of OP right now. And they're also making it so that his passive, the time it takes to reform, is going to scale down with level. So onto the items, I'm just going to go down them in alphabetical order. And yeah, Abyssal Scepter, 60 AP, 60 MR, 10% cooldown reduction, and it now has scaling magic resist shred. Archangel Staff, they removed the mana regeneration, and now it just has Awe, which is going to refund 25% of mana spent. Athene's and Holy Grail. Only thing you really need to worry about is that they changed a bunch of numbers here, but they removed the old get kills and assists to get health, to get mana back. Now what it is it has this blood charge thing, which when you shield or heal an ally after you have this charged up, you expend the blood charges on them and you heal them more. And it also has another passive, which is your health and mana generation will vary based upon how much health and mana you have. So if you have less health than mana, you're going to get more health regeneration. If you have less mana than health, you're going to get more mana regeneration. So that's nice. I'm going to point Banshees out real quick, because Banshees is an item that is going to be bought a bit more now with all these mages getting buffs. But so what it is that they're reducing the cost by 450 and also lowering the health by 200. Felt like I was going to point that change out. Don't know how that's really going to go with the 200 health lower, but it's also got the 450 gold lower as well. So we'll see. So the Catalyst of Aeon's new passive is that any damage you take, 15% of it is going to be turned into mana, and then whenever you spend mana, 20% of what you spend is going to become health, up to 15 per spellcast. Chalice of Harmony has that same mana and health regeneration that Athene's has. Okay, so Bloodrazor, the new jungle enchantment. This is replacing Devour. Okay, this Bloodrazor is going to get 40% attack speed and is going to deal 3% of target's maximum health and bonus physical damage. Bloodrazor is not going to be an exact replacement for a lot of Devour champions, but it will work in a lot of scenarios for them, such as Kindred. Xin Zhao will still kind of build this, Yi can still build this, and yeah, and hopefully ADCs don't build this item since it does deal % health damage. So hopefully we don't see Smite ADCs in the bot lane, but I know it's gonna happen, so just hopefully it won't be meta. The Rage Blade is getting changed here. It's now going to have a different passive, a different Gunsu's Rage passive, and this is important. So instead of it having the AoE thing and whatnot, it's now going to make it so that basic attacks will trigger on-hit effects an additional time. Every other basic attack triggering an on-hit effect an additional time. So this is really good for an on-hit build. But it also costs 3,600 now, so it's an actual item. So, onto Hextech GLP-800. This is your Frostbolt Hextech item, okay? It has the same Catalyst passive where it's 50% damage that's taken is becomes mana, 25% of that becomes health, 25 per spell cast. And it has Frostbolt as its active, which sprays ice bolts outwards and in certain direction, dealing some damage and slowing them. So not a bad item, costs 3,000 gold. Onto its other counterpart, which costs less gold than it, Hextech Protobelt -01, costing 2,500 gold. Gives a little bit less stats, but it does give you a dash. It gives you this fire dash where you dash and you release fire bolts. Okay, it's like a mini Flash almost. So it's really good for champions that kind of want to get into range with their abilities faster, that like making the Flash plays. But then instead of having Flash up, you have this now. So it's good. Not every champion is going to build it. For some champions it's going to be situational, other champions are going to be like a must-have. So yeah, that item's going to be, you're going to see that quite a bit at the beginning, but I don't know how much it's going to be bought all that much, but you should try it out on a lot of champions and see how it fits. Morellonomicon getting a new item that it builds from. It's going to get Lost Chapter. This is a new item being added, okay? 25 AP, 300 mana. And upon leveling up, restores 20% of your maximum mana over 3 seconds. And so Morellonomicon is getting a little bit tweaked as well. It's getting increased by 500 gold for the price, okay? The AP is getting increased, and the cooldown reduction is now its unique passive. And it doesn't have any mana regeneration now, has just a set amount of mana that you get. And kills and assists restore 20% of your maximum mana now, okay? And it still has its Grievous. Michael's Crucible is getting that mana health regeneration thing that Athene's has. QSS and Mercurial Scimitar, the nerfs for those are coming through, where it's only going to, the active is only going to work on actual crowd control. Rod of Ages is pretty much the same item with that new passive from Catalyst. Tear of the Goddess, they're changing how this item works. You're going to have that refund system where you're going to refund your mana that you spend, 15% of it. It's not going to have any mana regeneration. Final item on the list is Zhonya's Hourglass. Price is being reduced to make it more gold efficient. The AP is being reduced as well, though. It's getting a cooldown reduction, though. And the active for the cooldown is being increased by half a minute. And I have to say this, Will of the Ancients is now gone from the game, so Vladimir was the only one that was building it. So it's not that big of a deal. And one final thing to add on, wards, vision wards, now take 4 hits to die because they felt like it'd be easier on Jhin, I guess. But now it regenerates health out of combat. So yeah, that was patch 6.9 rundown, okay? Let me know what you think about this patch. Let me know if like anything of my opinions that I said. If you don't agree with them, let me know what you think. And yeah, hopefully this is going to be a really good patch. I'm really looking forward to playing on it. Yeah. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Like and subscribe if you did. And see you in the next one.